Hello, welcome to Matters of Decorum. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. I was asked to speak a little bit about my inspirations, and I've discussed my inspirations before. It's been a while, and that actually deserves a revisit. Inspiration is one of those things that evolves over time, like your tastes or your health or your mental health. Not entirely unrelated, any of those. Inspiration, the process of being mentally stimulated, or particularly in being creative. I have gotten my inspirations from a lot of different places in the past, from movies and television, books, comic books, travel. Travel's always been one of my big inspirations. I've always gotten a lot of ideas on the road or from the air when I'd fly. Like me a window seat. I like looking at the land spread out. I like train trips. I really like train trips for inspiration because you get to see sides of society you don't normally get to see and new sights and new things. Not always the most pleasant parts of society to see. Railroads are unpleasant things to be near. The constant noise of trains moving through and the smoke and the kicking up of the dirt and crews constantly coming through, maintaining the tracks. So you don't want to have that, say, in your nice residential neighborhood. You ride on the train, look out your window, you're seeing the back of society where the loading docks are and the infrastructure is built, where you've got warehousing and construction stuff that's other stuff you don't want front facing to civilization. Um, and then you realize civilization has a front face, and we normally uh, get that front facing driving through a city or down our average street, and that back face of civilization's even more important sometimes. All the stuff that makes the front possible. Um, I've gotten a lot of that inspiration from playing video games for the past while. Fallout was very good with that. Fallout 4 in particular was very good with having that kind of stuff. Cyberpunk 2077. Say what you want to about the game. I've been playing that on Twitch for a while now. And just the artistry that has gone into the ugly parts of Night City and seeing the things on the back end of it, where you get some storytelling elements and also just this beautiful environmental storytelling where, oh, this is how they get their power. This is where their sewage goes. This is how they maintain floodwaters. And just beautifully put together. It's been a rough year and a quarter, I'm going to say, about that long. Without being able to travel and having to do most of my inspiring online. I'll watch a lot of YouTube these days. A lot of YouTube. There are some channels that are my go-tos. Neebs Gaming, a lot of VShojo, love me a VTuber. Smarter Every Day, Sorted Food, a lot of food channels. Beard Meets Food, when I'm feeling like I want to indulge in some gluttony, but I can't myself anymore. RT Games, lots of others, a lot of gaming channels, information channels, people just poking and exploring their universe. And all of this helps to feed in that gap left by not being able to travel. But when it comes right down to it, when I look at what is most inspiring to me, that's going to be my gaming groups. That's going to be the actual groups that I game with. That's going to be hanging out with my friends, playing the games, or particularly in between the role-playing games. For the past months, the Warriors of Wednesday have run a gaming server off this computer, and we're in 3 or 4 nights a week, sometimes more often, where we are playing Ark, Survival Evolved, or Conan Exiles. And I get to see what inspires people. I want to build a building today. Let's go have this fight. I want to build a small fighting group that's going to follow me around and maul things with star metal claws. And seeing the different thinking of the people in the group. You know, if I run a game for them, what are they going to tend towards? Or what would be a divergence for them? That group is starting a brand new D&D game. We had session 0 last week, so I'm looking forward to Wednesday this week where we're actually kicking up, and folks have stretched a little bit in making their characters. We've got some people in the group who are making their first D&D 5e characters. Some people who just haven't had that much time role-playing with the group outside of the video games, and I get to see how all of that meshes. And a lot of what that game has been I came up with a very basic idea for what I wanted, and then I sat back and listened. As a dungeon master, as a writer, as someone who's creating material, sitting back and listening is your greatest inspiration. There hasn't been a group I've been a part of where sitting back and listening hasn't given me more information, inspiration, creative ideas than I could have gotten all on my own in 10 times the time. Because I game with some very, very creative people. No two of them creative in the same way. Creativity is not one stat. I could not, in my head, I could not create a stat in the game called creativity and have it apply to every creative pursuit, because I don't know someone who. Okay, I know a couple of people who might be able to say I can engage in any creative pursuit. Again, looking at you, Wayne, but there's mechanical creativity and linguistic creativity and artistic creativity, poetic creativity. These are all different forms of inspiration. Some people are architecturally creative or have a creative bent towards engineering. Different forms of machinery and structures, different processes that they're creative with, 3D printing or 3D modeling. And to hear a group of people who have widely disparate but equally potent areas of creativity, it is absolutely enlightening. When you have people who are talented in historical reenactment, photography, writing and poetry, music, fabrication, and fabrication tactics, language, humor, and puns. And folks, if you're in the Warriors of Wednesday and you didn't recognize yourself in your list, you were there. Sometimes more than once. To have all of that come together over 4 hours of playing Conan while we're tossing off dick jokes in the background. Because our humor is irreverent and our very own brand and not really meant for public consumption. Uh, it might occasionally clear out of Fuddruckers. But that group gives me so many ideas. Some of them I write down. Some of them I make notes. Some of them give me drawings and diagrams, either in my computer or on a scratch paper or in my head. Um, Little pictures of things I put together, little ideas and vignettes and scenes, where my creativity is usually at its best, coming up with the things that are going to become Legos for role playing games further down the line. Um, I spend a good amount of time with the Layer Action, the group that I've been gaming with in Lameda, the ones I do the podcast with. Heyo. And that group also just um, where you see this confluence of business acumen and artistic ability and physical fitness, um, knowledge in so many different areas, uh, tactical wargaming and theater, and fucking fencing and taekwondo, and all of this going together. And whether they know it or not, the amount of ideas that come out of them while we play is so much more than the massive ideas I throw at them while I am dungeon mastering that group. If I'm playing in that group, I'm struggling to keep up with providing as much inspiration as they do, and all of them just the flow of ideas. I've had the pleasure of all of them dungeon mastering for me as well, and just these fast, uh, agile brains full of information, and they are enlightening. Again, there's no better term for it. It's more than just inspiration. It's these piles of information that you can tell where their passions lie, because that builds the worlds that they throw at me, and that informs how they interact with the worlds I throw at them. The Naughty Crew, Tuesday night group, um, ran for them for years, playing them at the moment with them at the moment, and again, there are people in there who have not been gaming for very long. There have been people who've been gaming for longer than me in that group. And it is these wave fronts of talent and knowledge and ability. And you see how people play their characters and build their characters so that they can be played by that style, or stretching themselves out and doing something new with a character that hasn't been done before, certainly not by them, and uh, seeing how they flow and stretch into that. And again, realms of information. Because when you're playing a role playing game, as much as we might try not to metagame, a lot of our knowledge and our background goes into what a character does and knows. Um, their actions are often informed by what we are aware of outside of the character's realm of knowledge. And sometimes that's a little bit, sometimes you got to curtail that a little bit. It's like your character couldn't possibly know that. You might want to come up with a different idea. I mean, it's clever, but your character wouldn't have any idea. But sometimes just let it go. Um, Mike's Garage, Manhattan Beach Group. So good. Because again, uh, you have people who are adept at IT and educators and people who have filled their heads with various different forms of knowledge and uh, fabrication and firearms engineering. And there's a ninja in the group. Can't tell you which one, but uh, all of that comes together. You make up characters and you throw them into these situations and you run for them or you play alongside those characters and you just see these worlds of information that everyone's bringing to the game. And it's stuff that has been a side conversation in a game 5 years ago is an entire campaign somewhere else now. Or a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. An idea that started when I was with one group, got built up when I was with a different group. I'm running as a campaign for a third group. And that is going to build on things that I can jump off with and run with different groups. There is no source of inspiration greater than the people that I play with. I am very fortunate, and I'm aware that I am very fortunate that I have as many people that I play with who are all, all of them, just stellar, each in their own ways, that have these sources of knowledge, these backgrounds, their own backgrounds in gaming, their own imaginations, and these creative fonts of inspiration. If I were only able to aggregate what the people around me generate creatively, I'd still be ahead of the game by a long shot. Uh, I like to think I bring my own creativity to things. My imposter syndrome tells me I am only aggregating what I have seen in the past. But even if I'm only doing that, but I'm doing it creatively, that's my gig, and I'm good with that. Um, I'm pretty sure I'm generating some content on my own, but one way or another, are people enjoying my games? And that's what it comes down to. A lot of things that people enjoy in my games are things I'm just reflecting. They recognize something that is a field of their knowledge because I heard it from them years ago. Um, and I've polished it up and turned it around, and now it's part of this larger structure, but they still see that facet of their area in it. And hey, that's a thing. And their ability to seize on that and know what's going on because that's something that they recognize. Listening to the people in your group is the Dungeon Master's greatest tool for several reasons. One, because I promise you, there is so much there. And the Dungeon Master who realizes that the ideas that they have brought to the table, while they are important, are not more important than the weight of ideas that everyone else has. Sorry, burping. Everyone comes to the table full of ideas. And everyone has some expectation of what's going to happen at that game. And the dungeon master who not only tells the story that they have in their head, but weaves everyone else's expectations into their dungeon, into their campaign. Um, that is going to give you the best game you can get. Because all of our brains are more powerful than any one's brain. So what people call out during the game is super important. I want, the meme is, the 99% of dungeon mastering is fueling your players or using your players' paranoid conjecture. And yeah, yeah. When I don't throw solutions. I throw problems. I don't know the solutions to the problems that I throw. I listen to my players ponder what the solution is, and I figure, hey, that plus a little bit of that might be a good thing. Well, that's a possibility. Why don't you roll for that? Hey, what do you know? That works. And everyone's a genius. They're a genius for figuring it out. I'm a genius for coming up with such a brilliant plan from the beginning. And and it appears to be inspiration. It kind of is. It's just not all yours. This is very good coffee, by the way. I'm picking in a little bit earlier than usual, and word salad. So there's the inspiration that you get from your players at the table during the game. Brilliant. But that wealth of the time you have spent with them in game and out, the other games you spent, the games where they've been your comrades on the same side of the table, as opposed to you having been the dungeon master or the game master, the time you spent watching movies with each other, hearing people's choices. What movies should we watch? Let's have a movie night. What does everyone want to see? Um, you pay attention to those and get that idea of where everyone is at, and then you sit around. One of the best nights. I mean, one of my groups, the earlier edition of Warriors of Wednesday years ago, but we went out as a group to see Cloverfield, which is one of my favorite found footage movies. Um, because they managed to just maintain this pressure and this stress and this feeling of impending doom the entire time really, really well. So well that when we got out of the movie theater, we saw it at the AMC 20 at the Del Amo Mall right by my house, and the movie theaters in an open air shopping area. Absolutely beautiful. That had just been finished. We're really happy to have such a great place to see it. So we finish that movie, and we step outside, and we start looking up at the night sky and going, I feel really exposed here. We should probably go someplace and have a coffee or something. Yeah. It's way too open. If something we'd have no protection if something came at us right now. And then we went to Denny's, and it's like, does anyone else feel kind of boxed in, like we couldn't go anywhere if there was a problem? There's a sign of a good movie. But the discussion that we had around those feelings in that movie and the events and how they related to dice rolls and character stats, um, still obviously sticks with me. Miniature golfing with a friend of mine that I gamed with. Um, Led to us practicing with PVC and foam swords, which led to campaigns based around sword makers and the practice of martial arts and uh, a lot of study and looking into these subjects years ago. Travis, I miss you. Um, and everything that you do with your friends is inspiration. Trip to Disneyland, um, going over and hanging out at their shop. Your friends who have a shop. Very few guesses as to who that might be. Um, Having them over, having lunch, making lunch together. Um, so many things. Cooking over a fire in the backyard while you're getting ready for the game, and people gathering around the fire. What you do with your friends, what you do with your group, who may or may not be your friends, but ought to be, and probably will be in time. Um, all of that, people, interactions with people. Um, I have a lot of imposter syndrome. I've got a number of social anxieties that creep up the back of my spine all the time. It's not always easy for me to be with people, but I need to. I need to be with people because people inspire me. And sometimes there's frustrations and there's arguments and there's misunderstandings because people are people, and even amongst your friends, we don't share the same skull space, so communication can be an issue from time to time, and worth it, 100% worth it. So if I had to boil down where my inspiration comes from, just about any place else I can look. I have shared my list of books with my friends, or hey, I'm looking for something to read. Anyone got an idea? And I'll throw out a few of mine, and I'll do the same. I'm thinking of looking for something to take up my head for a while. Anyone got a recommendation? And my friends are my source of that inspiration. People in my Discord, or just talking, and random ideas come out, or hey, I'm sharing this meme, or this video looked funny to me. And that stuff will show up in games because you want what you produce at the table to have the feeling of being alive, and that feeling of being alive, that feeling of being something that people can interact with, comes from the people you interact with. And when they recognize a little bit of themselves and their inspiration in what you have produced, it's inspiring. And I can only hope that I have been as much of a source of inspiration to some of the people at my table and in my life as they have been to me. Well, that is my ramble for today. Thank you for hanging with me through this. Next week, next episode, hoping it's next week, kind of special. Because if I'm not mistaken, this is episode 199. So I've got something kind of special planned for next week. Here's hoping it goes off well. In the meantime, if you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, give me a thumbs down. Feedback is feedback. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, why not? My channel is awesome. Feel free to hit the subscribe button. If you do, you might want to hit the notification bell so you are alerted when my video becomes available. If there's anything else you'd like to hear me talk about, things you'd like to hear me discuss, questions you have for me, leave me a comment below. I will love getting your comment. You will love leaving me one. If you'd like to support the channel in a more substantial manner, I invite you to hit me up on Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ScottCorum, and consider donating. Absolutely anything helps. Allows me to make better videos more often. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I'm Scott Corum. This is What Has Mattered to Me, and I'll see you next time on the next Matters of DeCorum.